Hello, Durud and Shalom. Guys, how's my audio? Also, have you liked the stream? Also, we already got a super chat. We haven't even started, and we got a super chat. And look at it, is the super chat is also a compliment. Look at this. Sapien Jew is saying, "Too bad I couldn't watch your stream live yesterday. Loved every second of your analysis." I'm Israel Chai, Javid Iran, Javid Shah. Oh my God, that is one of the most beautiful super chats or any comment I ever received, actually. Thank you so much for the support and your beautiful message. Double thank you for that. Anyways, I actually should be uh, transitioning. Okay, so look at this. Let's actually look at what happened. How's my audio, guys? Everything okay? Let's get up to date regarding what has happened for the few people who might not know what's going on, and then we will go to. Let me know if you've been following this in the chat. I want to see how many people are following this, how many people are not. So let me know in the chat. So, and I want to know your opinion. I'm going to be paying attention to the chat to see what your opinions are about immigration, because this is an immigration related story. So let's watch this.
We are following breaking news tonight. President Trump announcing one of the two West Virginia National Guard members shot while patrolling the nation's capital on Thanksgiving Eve has died from her injuries. The U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia says the suspect faces at least 4 felony charges, including attempt to kill while armed. Natalie Brand has more from Washington.
President Trump announced on Thursday night that one of the two National Guard members shot while patrolling the nation's capital on Thanksgiving Eve has died from her injuries.
Right now, I heard that Sarah Beckstrom of West Virginia, one of the Guardsmen that we're talking about, highly respected, young.
Oh my God, she was so beautiful. Look at her smiling. God damn it.
Heard that Sarah Beckstrom of West Virginia, one of the Guardsmen that we're talking about, highly respected, young, magnificent person, started service in June of 2023, outstanding in every way. She's just passed away.
The other National Guardsman was identified as 24-year-old Andrew Wolf. Investigators say the suspect in Wednesday's deadly shooting drove cross-country to carry out an ambush attack.
A lone gunman opened fire without provocation, ambush style, armed with a .357 Smith & Wesson revolver.
Officials identified the suspect as 29-year-old Ramanallah Lakhanwal of Washington State, an Afghan national who entered the U.S. in
What? Raman? Oh my God. Ramanallah Lakawana Laka. Oh my God. What the fuck kind of Ramanallah Lakanawal? Okay.
Ramanallah Lakhanwal of Washington State, an Afghan national who entered the U.S. in 2021 following the American withdrawal from the war-torn country. The CIA.
Okay, so it was. Oh my God. Why? You know what? I'm changing one of my major opinions, maybe based on this story. I'm not sure. I'll talk to you guys about it. We have to decide what our position is. This guy actually entered the United States illegally, and he was working with the CIA. So none of the current, even if you want to stop illegal immigration, this guy would have made it in.
.57 Smith & Wesson revolver.
Officials identified the suspect as 29-year-old Ramanallah Lakhanwal of Washington State, an Afghan national who entered the U.S. in 2021 following the American withdrawal from the war-torn country. The CIA said Lakhanwal previously worked with the U.S. government in Afghanistan. A Department of Homeland Security official tells CBS News the suspected gunman was granted asylum earlier this year on humanitarian grounds.
We must take all necessary.
Honestly, if you can't trust the people who have been, because if there are any group of people from these shithole countries that we should be, I thought we should be considering letting in, were the people who have been risking their lives working with the American military or intelligence, right? I mean, I think a lot of you would have accepted that, like, yeah, don't allow people from these places to America, but there should be an exception for the people. Obviously, if somebody has risked their lives working with their Americans, they should be allowed in. I mean, what does that say about America if people who have worked with Americans are then left over there to die? Then nobody's going to work with Americans ever again. But now we're saying like even that, like I thought that was a pretty solid filter. What do you guys think? Was I wrong about that? I mean, it seems like I was wrong about that. But do you see where I'm coming from? Where I thought that was a pretty solid filter. Like if you're working with the Americans against the Taliban, okay, you're one of the good guys. So this guy at least should be able to make it in. Is that wrong? Was that wrong? Jewish Samantha is saying, I think one person shouldn't change their position. You're right. However, that's not how it works. Because perception becomes people's reality. So when you have this guy doing something like that, then the understanding, wanted or not, would be that we can't trust any of these motherfuckers. We cannot trust that. We can't. That's what's going to be. And again, what is a democracy other than the politicians having to give in to people's demands in some certain areas? And if Americans are like, you know what, fuck all of this shit. Like, let's just stop. What are we doing? What the fuck are we doing? Let's just stop. I mean, I understand why American politicians would be like, yeah, okay, let's just stop right now. Let's just stop. There are better places to bring immigrants from. I mean, it might not really be it's not a really good way of coming up with a conclusion, but it's just how it works. That's what people, yeah, but let's see, actually, maybe we'll get better information.
A Department of Homeland Security official tells CBS News the suspected gunman was granted asylum earlier this year on humanitarian grounds.
We must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country.
In addition, the director of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services says he has ordered, at the direction of President Trump, a full-scale, rigorous re-examination of all green cards for every immigrant from more than a dozen countries of concern, including Afghanistan. Natalie Brand, CBS News.
Wait, hold on. Let's actually see this one now. Okay.
Names of the two West Virginia National Guard. We've now learned the names of the two West Virginia National Guard members who were shot at point-blank range just blocks from the White House. The Justice Department identifying them as 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom and 24-year-old Andrew Wolf. We understand they've undergone surgery and remain in critical condition.
We're also learning new details about.
So this was before she died. She died, unfortunately. Fucking hell.
We understand they've undergone surgery.
Look at that smile. Look at that smile. Oh my God, what a tragedy.
Sarah Beckstrom and 24-year-old Andrew Wolf. We understand they've undergone surgery and remain in critical condition.
We're also learning new details about the suspect. Authorities say the 29-year-old Afghan national traveled across the country from Washington state to the nation's capital before the attack. We'll have the latest on the investigation in a moment. First, I want to get to CNN's Brian Todd, who's live at the shooting scene. And Brian, you're learning more about how this attack played out.
That's right, Omar and Boris. We have important new information this afternoon on how the attack played out. We're going to get to what Janine Pirro said about that in just a second. But first, we have access here that we have not had before to the actual spot where the shooting occurred. I'm standing at the spot right now. And if you come over here with me, our photojournalist Jay McMichael and I are going to walk you over here. This area here, excuse me, ma'am. This is the bus shelter where, according to officials, at least one of the guardsmen tried to take cover at, and you can see that a plexiglass panel here has been shot out. You can see the fragmented glass up there. This panel is gone, and I'm going to walk you over here to this planter. It appears here that there is a bullet hole here that entered here and exited here of this planter. There's another planter over here Jay's going to shoot you a close-up of that. And there's another planter here where this part has been removed. I'm going to walk you over here to show you that part of the planter that was removed. And in the meantime, you see a makeshift memorial here to the victims, people laying flowers and an American flag. Over here is a part of that panel that was actually removed. And you can see additional bullet holes here, one here, one here. And this looks like some evidence that was handled by authorities as they started to process the scene last evening. So in addition to that, we have new information from Jeanine Pirro. She is the U.S. Attorney General for the District of Columbia. Earlier today, she spoke to us about the sequence of gunshots. Take a listen.
A lone gunman opened fire without provocation, ambush style, armed with a .357 Smith & Wesson revolver. One guardsman is struck, goes down, and then the shooter leans over and strikes the guardsman again. Another guardsman is struck several times.
Guys, let me know in the chat what you think about this. Do you guys believe in stopping immigration from all of these, all Islamic countries or all third world countries, or is that, or are you for stopping just illegal immigration, or also, or do you want to just stop all immigration from third world countries as a whole, or Islamic countries only as a, as a whole? What is your position on this? Let me know in the chat. I will be reading your comments.
And both of those guardsmen are now in critical condition at a local hospital. We have made inquiries with the hospital to learn more about the surgeries and about where they're being treated. The hospital's not gotten back to us on that. As Boris and Omar mentioned, they're identified as Sarah Beckstrom, 20 years old, Andrew Wolf, 24 years old. Those are the two Guard members who were struck yesterday in this attack. Beckstrom has been in the Guard since 2023, according to officials. Andrew Wolf has been in the Guard since 2019. According to officials at the news conference, were sworn in yesterday. We believe that meant that they were sworn in not as new Guard members, but sworn in as deputies for the U.S. Marshals, which they have to do about every month. Guys, back to you.
Brian Todd, live for us in Washington, D.C. We hope to learn a positive update on those Guard members at some point soon. CNN senior national security.
Okay, so guys, can you vote in the chat? So 1 would be stopping all illegal immigration only, and don't touch the legal migration. That's number 1. Number 2 is stop all illegal migration, but also any form of migration from Islamic countries. That would be 2. So more extreme than number 1. And number 3, stop all illegal migration and also all migration from Islamic and all third world countries as a whole. So that would be 3. Number 3 would be the most. So both illegal and legal, no legal migration from third world countries. That would be number 3. So are you a 1 or a 2 or a 3? Okay, so let's see the chat.
Reporter Zach Cohen on those Guard members at some point soon. CNN senior national security reporter Zach Cohen joins us now. Zach, take us through what we've learned about the suspect.
Yeah, we're learning quite.
Somebody's saying, what does this have to do with immigration? Or, well, because the person who did the shooting was a migrant from Afghanistan who was working with the CIA. That's what it has to do.
Security reporter Zach Cohen joins us now. Zach, take us through what we've learned about the suspect.
Yeah, we're learning quite a lot about his background. It's a 29-year-old Afghan national who came to the United States in 2021 as part of this program that was implemented by the Biden administration after the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. Now, it seems that why he was allowed to come to the U.S. in part was because of his work with the U.S. military and CIA. He was, our understanding, he served in an elite counterterrorism unit that worked directly with U.S. intelligence and military units in Afghanistan, including active combat against Taliban forces at the time. And so there were thousands of those individuals who served in those roles that were evacuated when the Taliban started to rise to power after the U.S. left. And it appears that was the basis for his immigration into the United States. Now, of course, several layers of vetting and took place after he got here. He was only temporarily allowed to come here at first, but his background with the CIA and the intelligence community does seem to be the basis for his travel to the U.S.
So what was that vetting process actually like? Because obviously there were a lot of Afghans that were coming over as part of that Operation Allies Welcome.
Yeah, by all accounts, it should have been very extensive. We know that in that initial process, he would have been vetted by the U.S. government, including the CIA. And then once he was granted temporary asylum, as he applied for permanent status, he would have gone through a variety of different layers of vetting. Those include identity and background checks, biometric vetting, in-person interviews, assessment of an individual risk, and eligibility under U.S. law. So that's several layers.
Okay, yeah. So this is a lot of so this, guys, you know what the perception is going to be is because this guy was vetted, that this guy went through a very strict review process and he passed every single one of them. So the perception is going to be that if you're from Afghanistan, okay, you might be a ticking time bomb no matter how many review processes you pass. You might actually look very decent, but at the end of the day, you come from a place with an inferior culture. You come from a place that hates America. So you might not hate America now. You might be even friendly to America. You might basically pass all the vetting tests and everything. But again, because of the place you come from, at some point, you might turn into a danger to the society. And that's what the perception is going to be based on these things, right? Yeah, so he came legally, yes, of course.
I mean, it's important to remember, too, the ultimate approval.
But by the way, guys, let me know in the chat what you think the motivation was. Is it Islam? Is it, what else is there? Was it Islam? Do we know that?
Eligibility under U.S. law. So that's several layers. I mean, it's important to remember, too, the ultimate approval and of his asylum application was granted under the Trump.
Oh, yeah. Somebody's asking, was he radicalized in mosques in the U.S. here? Okay, yeah. That might be an interesting question.
The ultimate approval and of his asylum application was granted under the Trump administration in 2025.
Important in the context of the president and allies saying that this was the policy of the previous administration to let folks in without vetting. Important to keep that in mind. Zach Cohen, thank you so much. Let's get some perspective now with Donnell Harvin. He is the former head of Homeland Security and Intelligence for Washington, D.C., also a member of the faculty at Georgetown University's Emergency and Disaster Management Program. Donnell, thank you so much for being with us. Happy Thanksgiving. We're grateful that you could share some time. I wonder what a review, as the president has said, of every migrant admitted to the U.S. under the previous administration would look like, as we've also learned that officials are going to pause any migration case related to Afghans pending further review. What does all of that entail?
That entails going through and interviewing quite possibly anywhere from 70 to nearly 100,000 people, depending on what reports you read. It's got to be very clear to the audience that, these Afghan asylum seekers who've come over have committed crimes at such a low rate. I was unable to find any major crimes that were committed by these individuals. These individuals and their family members serve the U.S. service members abroad, help save lives. In fact, there's many documented cases of former service.
It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. This man was one of them, and he did this, and now, people want this to stop. At the end of the day, migration, mass migration, even mass legal migration is causing a lot of trouble. They are destroying America's culture because you're basically bringing too many of them too fast for them to be able to assimilate in any meaningful way. And even if this is just one incident, it's not going to be just about him. It's going to be, I don't know, what did they say? The needle that broke the camel's back. So if people, so people are like, okay, but this was just one guy. But it's not just one guy. This one guy will be the reason why people will be expressing themselves over a whole bunch of other shit that is coming to their country, right? It's not about, oh, this is one guy, it doesn't represent the others. It's more about people are tired of so much other shit that is coming to their country, and one incident is good enough to push them over the tipping point and just come out and say enough is enough. So it's not just about this case, it's about this case and many, many other things. And at some point, people are going to, anytime then people come out in a society and say enough is enough, it's going to be over one event. But then people think that, okay, this is just one event. Why are you guys so upset over just one event? But it's not, it's never about just that one event. It's basically that was the latest event that reminds them of so many other things that they have to deal with because of this, because of migration from places that has inferior culture to the American way of life.
Service people going to help save lives. In fact, there's many documented cases of former service people going over to rescue them even after the evacuation. What happens is that once these individuals go through that layered process of vetting and they get into the United States, they're kind of free to move around the country at their will. There's no further surveillance of them. There's no surveillance state of them. They're just like any other asylum seeker. They'll go through their process, and throughout their process, they will have interviews, and then they'll be part of a normal, non-enhanced vetting. What I believe that the administration's talking about now is some type of advanced vetting. The other thing I wanted to mention is that when you interview these people, when they go through the vetting process, you're looking behind, right? You're looking at their previous history, their ideology, who they've been associated with. That can't predict the future. And so this is the difficult part that the administration finds themselves in now.
Yeah, especially as we've seen so many cases of people being radicalized through a number of different means, if this in fact turns out to be terrorism. And that leads me to the next question. How is it that officials determine a motive accurately here? Because you have the administration saying that this was terrorism, but the investigators themselves.
Is there a way to reward people who have been working with the U.S. military by providing them somehow safety from the countries that they're in, but not bring them to America? Like, is there a way? Like, I know there isn't, but is there a way to get them out of harm's way, but also not bring them to America? Probably not.
Accurate.
Well, maybe can you facilitate their movement to another country? Like another third world country that is just not hostile to them? Like, I don't know, like move them from Afghanistan to, I don't know where, but, you know, somewhere that it's not an imperialist country that they might act when they act up against, but like so-called imperialist country in their mind. But it's another third world country. Just facilitate, but it's also a place that is not like that they would not be in danger. Can you? Why don't you just help them move them to? People are saying Egypt, Lebanon. Yeah, maybe move them there. Indonesia, somewhere. Do a deal with another country. Do a deal with another country and just move them there.
Here, because how is it that officials determine a motive accurately here? Because you have the administration saying that this was terrorism, but the investigators themselves have to piece that together to show evidence.
Yeah, move them to an Islamic country that is dealing with low population. Like they need that needs migration. You know, maybe like Malaysia, probably, right? Something like Antarctica, somewhere. Yeah, maybe move them there. Just like help them move there.
Saying that this was terrorism, but the investigators themselves have to piece that together to show evidence.
Oh, you know what? Move them to the pro. Oh, no, I shouldn't say that. I was gonna say move them to the so-called pro-Palestinian European countries like Norway, Ireland, like yes, Spain. But then I remembered that we have friends there, and they were like, "What the hell, Armin? I know we have friends in Norway." They're like, "Armin, what the fuck?" Yeah, sorry.
Saying that this was terrorism, but the investigators themselves have to piece that together to show evidence of it.
Yeah, in the absence of the surviving individual who's now under arrest cooperating, all reports saying he's not cooperating, they can still piece together their background, who they communicated with. You know, Boris, you and I have been on this topic for many times.
Yeah.
Invariably, many of these individuals who are radicalized and mobilized to violence have some type of breadcrumb trails. We call that leakage. They may have told someone, they may have intimated this online, spoken with someone, shown some type of signs. It's always some type of signs. People just don't wake up, drive across the country with a gun and open fire on uniformed service members. So there's.
Then how did you miss this guy? How is this an intelligence failure? Okay, guys, Russian AR just gave us 50 memberships in the chat. 50 memberships in the chat. 50 people became members. Thank you so much, Russian AR. Guys, please thank Russian AR for all of the, you support us so much. I think yesterday he did 150 memberships, and now there's another 50. That's 200 memberships in 2 days. That's crazy. Well, thank you so much. This is very generous. 100 new Mossad agents, guys. Welcome to the agency.
It's going to be something that they'll be able to find, even though he's not cooperating.
Wow.
I wanted to go back to something that you alluded to a moment ago, and that is the suspect's previous relationship with the U.S. government and his work in Afghanistan, including with the CIA, according to Director John Ratcliffe. How do you read that relationship?
You know, everything I've read that's open source available says that he served honorably and was trusted at a very high level. Like you don't get attached to a secret top secret unit with the CIA and special operations if you haven't been vetted even before the evacuation, right? So they trusted this individual quite possibly with their life to make sure that they wouldn't leak any information to adversaries, what they're doing, their movements, what they're looking for. And so something drastic has had to happen over the last 3 years since he's gotten here, Boris. This is really unprecedented. And in a year that the word unprecedented has been used an unprecedented amount of times, we need to just sit back and look at how bonkers this is that someone would actually open fire on U.S. service members. I did some research before we came.
What the hell happened? Like, this guy was so trusted by the CIA. Like, guys, like, those guys do their homework. Okay, the CIA is no joke. They do their homework on somebody when they trust somebody. Like, what the hell happened to this guy? This guy snapped or something. Like, was he radicalized in the US or something? What the hell? Like, I really want to figure out. Like, I really want to know how this happened. How I'm actually glad that he's not dead, because I want this guy to be researched to figure out how. Like, I'm really, guys, what do you guys think happened? Somebody that the CIA has determined not just not at risk, but somebody to be trusted with classified information. That's how. And then he did this. Like, what do you guys like? What is your theory? If you had to guess, I know we don't have any evidence right now, so we have to wait for the investigations. But if you were just guessing, what did you think happened? What was saying he was very lonely, maybe unhappy and lonely. Armin, he probably Comrade Shifts is saying Armin, he probably was low tier informant. They don't really vet those guys. Okay, that's an interesting point. He just followed Islam. Okay. Nobody. Somebody saying, Amir saying clearly the guy was a Hydra agent. Okay. He read the Quran. Torah saying, he decided to read the Quran. Okay, maybe. Sure. Yeah, maybe. Okay.
This is that someone would actually open fire.
Oh, that's a good. Okay, somebody is coming up with an interesting theory. He was going to be deported. Okay, so maybe he was about to be deported, and then he thought, like, oh my God, what the fuck? I risked my life for this country, and now they're sending me back to Afghanistan. That's an interesting theory, actually. What do you guys think? That's an interesting theory. Is that a guess? Nail Bunny is saying his family said that they lost touch with him. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Where did you get that information?
Fire on U.S. service members. Look at how bonkers this is that someone would actually open fire on U.S. service members. I did some research before we came on. I haven't seen any incident of this in my lifetime, and I'm over 50 years old.
Oh, really? You look good. I wouldn't have guessed. Look at him. He's over 50? You look 30. Good job. Okay. So look at this one. Seriously, I'm not joking, by the way, guys. He doesn't look 50. All right, let's go to this one.
That's what the president is calling an assault on 2 National Guardsmen in the nation's capital. So the 2 soldiers remain in critical condition this morning after police say they were both shot at point-blank range, just blocks away from the White House.
We saw one National Guardsman being wheeled out on a stretcher, and he had a device helping pump his heart, it looked like, doing automatic like CPR, and his face was covered in blood.
The 29-year-old suspect was tackled at the scene after a brief exchange of gunfire. Law enforcement say he came to the U.S. from Afghanistan about 4 years ago. In response, the president vows to crack down on immigration even further.
We're not going to put up with these kind of assaults on law and order by people who shouldn't even be in our country. We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden, and we must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country. If they can't love our country, we don't want them.
Okay. That would be good, but that would not stop this guy from getting in. You know, I do blame Biden for a lot of things, but this guy was vetted by the CIA. I mean, somebody said maybe, I don't know. So, I mean, even if you want to stop the people who hate the country from coming in, this guy would have still passed such tests, wouldn't he? I mean, he worked with the United States against United States enemies. So if anything, wouldn't that, like, if you're looking for people who hate America to stop them from coming in, wouldn't this guy not be stopped by such a filter? Like that guy would make it through. So how would what Trump is suggesting stop somebody like him from coming in?
Fit to our country. If they can't love our country, we don't want them.
We've got CNN senior White House reporter Betsy Klein here now.
This is why I understand why some people would say, like, let's just not bring anybody from Islamic countries. Like, I understand why people would say that. Like, just like, stop. Just like, no. Like, just, like, what do you guys think?
Betsy, we heard the president basically condemning this as an act of terror, but also expanding his concerns to immigration more broadly. I think he brought up Somalia at one point. Can you talk about what the plans are out of the White House?
Right, Audie, just a really horrific day here in Washington, and the Department of Homeland Security has identified Ramanullah Lakanwal as the suspect in the shooting of these 2 National Guardsmen. Lakanwal is an Afghan national. He came to the United States in 2021 under Operation Allies Welcome. To remind you, that's the Biden-era program that resettled those Afghan nationals in the wake of the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. He applied for asylum in 2024, and it was granted by the Trump administration in April of this year. He is in custody at an area hospital after being shot. Now, one source tells CNN that this suspect is not cooperating with investigators. We still do not know the motive. We do not know how the suspect got this handgun that he used. We also do not know the full extent of the suspect's injuries at this time. But we do expect to hear more on where this investigation stands from D.C. U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, as well as FBI Director Kash Patel a little later this morning. President Trump, meanwhile, addressing the nation from Mar-a-Lago last night, he cast blame on the Biden administration for letting the suspect into the country. He called for the re-examination of every person who entered the U.S. from Afghanistan during the last administration. Of course, CNN had reported earlier this week that that process was already underway. Listen to the president.
You know, honestly, I'm going to be honest with you guys, okay? So, again, I criticize Biden for so many different things, especially for his appeasement of the Islamic Republic, okay? But if I was the president of the United States and they told me that, oh, yeah, this guy risked his life to work with the CIA in the interest of the United States, I would have said, like, oh, okay, let this guy in, I guess, right? And apparently I would have been wrong, right? So I'm just being honest with you guys about if Biden made a mistake with this guy, I would have made the same mistake. And I don't like I would have made this. I'm just trying to be very honest with you guys, and let me know, what do you guys think? Like, if you were in the position, not with this information, before this news came out, if you were the president of the United States and were like, sir, we have basically stopped immigration from Afghanistan, but there are certain people there who have been our agents and have been working with us, and now that we're leaving, their lives are at risk. Should we bring them to the United States? Would you have said yes or no? Like, be honest. Would you have said yes, okay, bring them in, or no? This is why I'm thinking that maybe you should like have a third country where you just negotiate with them to just move them there instead of bring them to the United States. Guys, Russian AR just gave us another 50 memberships again, for a total of 100 memberships today. What is happening? I think everybody is a member now. Thank you so much. Oh, Jewish Samantha said yes. Okay. I would say yes, honestly. Yeah. Holy moly, it's raining memberships.
The suspect in custody is a foreigner who entered our country from Afghanistan.
Hey guys, there's 250 memberships this week by one person. Thank you.
He is a foreigner.
Listen to the president.
The suspect in custody is a foreigner who entered our country from Afghanistan, a hellhole on earth. He was flown in by the Biden administration in September 2021. This attack underscores the single greatest national security threat facing our nation. The last administration let in 20 million unknown and unvetted foreigners from all over the world, from places that you don't want to even know about.
Now, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services have announced moments later that all Afghan immigrant cases are stopping indefinitely, pending further review. And I also just want to remind you why these West Virginia Guardsmen were here. They have been deployed in Washington since August as part of the president's crime crackdown. That is expected to continue until at least February. President Trump also announced he would be deploying 500.
Okay, guys, here's the conspiracy theories. Okay, the conspiracy theory is going to be from the far left and the far right. Okay, the far left, I'm guessing what the conspiracy theory is going. The far left is going to be that this is Trump's. This is basically the CIA is doing this, so that they could justify a military takeover of U.S. cities. Okay, so this is what I'm guessing could be. Like, do you guys think that that's the correct far left conspiracy theory? And the far right conspiracy theory is going to be who's behind all of this? Who's behind this? All of this, the far right one, the Groyper one. It's going to be the Jews. The Jews, everybody. It's going to be the Jews. This is a Mossad operation. This is a Mossad operation to distract you from what is it? Tell me in the chat. From the Epstein files. Okay, this is a Mossad operation to this. Like, what are we not doing right now, guys? What are we not doing? We're not talking about the Epstein files. So that's what this is. This is the purpose. Okay. So again, I'm not saying that, YouTube. Yes.
Continue until at least February. President Trump also announced he would be deploying 500 more National Guards members to Washington, D.C. in response to this horrific shooting.
Okay, Betsy, thanks so much for that update. I'm going to turn a little bit to the investigation. The FBI is going to be spearheading it, and it's being called an attack on federal law enforcement. So we've got CNN law enforcement analyst Jonathan Wackrow here now to talk about how this will unfold. Jonathan, thanks for being here with us this morning. I want to start with what they're going to be looking for from the suspect. As we mentioned,
Wait, before we look at the suspect, we got a super chat from Carl. Thank you so much, Carl. Carl is saying, not radicalization. It's people from low education countries failing in civilized societies, and jihad seems their default mode to personal crisis. Okay, but that's what we call radicalization. So you're correct, Carl. But that's basically what those are just radicalization. Those are just the steps of radicalization. You're basically describing the steps people take to become radicalized. But thank you for the super chat.
an Afghan national.
Oh my God, guys, we got another 50 memberships. Another 50 memberships from Russian AR. We got 50 memberships, so 300 memberships so far. What is happening? Thank you. You're basically single-handedly funding our channel now, Rush. Like, I think, guys, this is actually really great because we're in the red right now. We're losing money at AR, so I think this is going to cover our expenses. Thank you. Okay.
Believed to have come in under one of the various asylum programs.
Guys, if you want to receive, if you're not receiving a membership, it's because you haven't turned on the ability to be gifted a membership in your YouTube settings. You need to go and turn that on so that you could get it.
I want to start with what they're going to be looking for from the suspect. As we mentioned, they're an Afghan national and believed to have come in under one of the various asylum programs, which did include vetting. So there's documentation, right, to go and look and learn about this suspect.
Yes. Good morning, Adi. Yes, the suspect came to the United States in 21, and that's the starting point for investigators, right? Like understanding what happened during that vetting process, how detailed and what was the rigor of the information that they were reviewing at that time. But just the fact that he came in under the U.S. seeking U.S. asylum in 21, it's a relevant fact, but it's actually not the motive. And right now, what investigators are trying to do is actually ask a couple key questions. Most notably, was this a symbolic targeting of the military or some sort of anti-government movement, or was this just rooted in some type of personal grievance? And the way that they're going to do that is the same way that they take any type of shooting situation, is they work backwards. They start looking at all known associates, family members. They start doing a digital trace and looking, combing through the digital exhaust of this individual. Was he connected to other people who had or exhibited animus towards the United States? Was this part of some sort of ideological movement? Again, that's where we may see a nexus to terrorism. We have not seen that yet, and we have not intimated that that is the case, but that is what investigators are looking for. And they're going to look through this link analysis of these associates and contacts to really piece together this mosaic of data to come to a determination of what is the motive. Now, we know that the suspect is not cooperating, but there are a lot of investigative tools and techniques that are at the FBI's disposal to get to, directionally what that motive may be.
The Trump administration now ordering another 500 National Guardsmen into the city. One thing we've been looking at today is...
we got a super chat. Who's saying, for once, I don't know what to say. Stay strong. I have your back from across the world. Well, thank you for having our back. I appreciate that. Thank you.
That in the legal challenge process, there was a National Guard memo that had revealed some concerns about the deployment that commanders originally had, where they were basically saying this mission is kind of an opportunity for criminals or violent extremists or lone actors to advance their interests. They were saying that the Guardsmen themselves are sort of high visible and potential targets. Can you talk about that from a law enforcement perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I had mentioned this yesterday in the aftermath of the tragic incident, but right now we've seen a shift. And what I said is that, I believe that we've hit the point of marginal utility, especially in Washington, D.C., with the benefit of the National Guard. And what I mean by that is, they are on site to provide a visual deterrent, to show that visible force of, surging law enforcement within the National Capital Region. But now it has shifted. We've heard from government officials say that these guardsmen were targeted directly. If that is the case, adding 500 more to the area just increases the potential targeting of these National Guard members. Now, you do have to address this crime and broader criminal acts throughout the area. I'd rather see more law enforcement than more soldiers put at risk in a mission that may be a little bit undefined for them.
Okay. I think this guy was just trying to let's actually listen to what Trump is saying about all of this, because let's look at the full announcement.
To speak with so many incredible members of the U.S.
So this is Trump's reaction to the shooting.
And I'm honored to speak with so many incredible members of the U.S. military. And
somebody in the chat is saying Trump is responsible. How is Trump responsible? Can you explain? Can you explain yourself?
And I'm honored to speak with so many incredible members of the U.S. military and to wish all of you a very happy Thanksgiving. Before we begin, I want to express the anguish and the horror of our entire nation at the terrorist attack yesterday in our nation's capital, in which a savage monster gunned down 2 service members in the West Virginia National Guard who were deployed as part of the D.C. task force, which has done such an incredible job. I mean, until yesterday, we literally had no incidents for many months. It was the safest place imaginable, and this is a different kind of crime. This is a really bad crime. Millions of Americans are praying for those heroes and their families, and I must unfortunately tell you that just seconds before I went on, right now, I heard that Sarah Beckstrom of West Virginia, one of the guardsmen that we're talking about, highly respected, young, magnificent person, started service in June of 2023, outstanding in every way. She's just passed away. She's no longer with us. She's looking down at us right now. Her parents are with her. This just happened. She was savagely attacked. She's dead. She's not with us. Incredible person. Outstanding in every single way, in every department. That's horrible. As you know, the other young man is fighting for his life. He's in very bad shape. He's fighting for his life, and hopefully we'll get better news with respect to him. And the monster that did this is also in serious condition. But we won't even talk about him. As you may know, DHS has confirmed that the suspect is an Afghan national flown here by the previous administration, who was such a bad administration. And I have a picture of a plane. This is what it looked like when they came in. It was total bedlam. Do you remember that period of time? Total bedlam. People crammed onto the plane. And the toughest, meanest, most capable physically got on the plane, not the people that we were looking for or that they wanted to bring in. Here's a picture for you. Just take a look at that plane. Standing on top of each other and sitting on top of each other. This is what we had under the Biden administration. That whole thing should have never, ever happened. They should have left from a different base. They should have left from Bagram, as you know, and it would have been a much different story. But they didn't do that, and this was just a.
Why would it be a different story if they left from a different base? Can somebody explain that to me in the chat?
Story, but they didn't do that, and this was just a rout, just a terrible situation. This heinous atrocity reminds us that we have no greater national security priority than ensuring that we have full control over the people that enter and remain.
You know, what an ungrateful fuck that man was. Like, I don't know what his story is, but this is the country that gave you asylum, and this is your thank you
in our country.
And by the way, there's somebody in the chat who thinks that all of the story is BS and all of this is a conspiracy theory and everything that you hear in the news is wrong. His name is Christopher something. Can you tell us what your version of reality is? Are you one of those conspiracy nut jobs? Okay, you're saying they're all the same. I mean, you can't even spell. You don't even know how to spell. Okay, but okay. Who's all the same? Is the U.S. government and the Islamists and the Jews and is it the lizard people? Is it the lizard people?
For the most part, we don't want to enter and remain in our country. For the most part, we don't want them. They come in illegally, have a lot of problems. Their countries force them in because their countries are smart. They don't want them. Let's give them to the Americans to take care of. They come out of jails in many cases, mental institutions, they're gang members, they're drug dealers. We don't want them. Many of the service members on this call today are engaged in crucial aspects of that mission. And to each and every one of you, I just want to thank you so much. Incredible people. You make this sacrifice like few others understand. A lot of them don't even understand it. And you're keeping America safe and free. Our military is strong. My first term, I rebuilt our military, all aspects of our military. And in Afghanistan, we actually gave up a big chunk, but relatively, as much as it seemed like it's small compared to what we bought and to what we have and to what we're buying. We're spending over $1 trillion this year on our military. We have a military, the best in the world. We make the best.
Okay, he's changing the topic. All right, guys, I think my decision, my choice would be to stop all migration, legal and illegal, from Islamic countries. If it was up to me, that would be my choice. I don't know if that's the right decision, but I wouldn't do third world because some third world countries are actually a good alternative to the migrations from Islamic countries, right? Like you could bring people from Vietnam to replace, the people I don't know. Yeah, but I think at least just stop Islamic country migration altogether until you figure this shit out, because you're not doing a very good job filtering. Let's actually watch this one.
With Fox News alert, a 20-year-old National Guard member dead and another fighting for his life after Wednesday night's ambush in Washington.
Oh, he's also fighting for his life? I thought he's okay. I thought his situation is stable. So they might both die?
Member dead and another fighting for his life after Wednesday night's ambush in Washington.
The Washington, D.C. Fire and EMS Department sharing this video of them honoring the victim, Sarah Beckstrom, as her body was transferred.
Sarah Beckstrom of West Virginia, one of the Guardsmen that we're talking about, highly respected, young, magnificent person. Started service in June of 2023. Outstanding in every way. She's just passed away. She's no longer with us. She's looking down at us right now.
That was the president breaking the tragic news yesterday. The president also saying 24-year-old Andrew Wolf still fighting for his life right now.
Jeez.
His family asking for prayers.
The suspect had worked with the CIA and evacuated to the U.S. from Afghanistan in 2021. The death of Beckstrom means he will likely face upgraded charges to include murder in the first degree. The DOJ also pushing for the death.
Guys, did he shout Allahu Akbar or anything when he did this? Because I saw somewhere on social media that somebody said, I don't know, haven't verified this, but was there a shouting of Allahu Akbar or anything? Hey, somebody in the chat posted $7,000. Am I getting paid even when I'm not talking about Israel? That's such a great deal. I thought I only get paid when I'm defending Israel. So I just get paid $7,000 just all the time? Well, thank you, Israel. That's very generous. Israel is paying me even when I'm not talking about Israel. Wow, so generous.
Penalty.
We will do everything in our power to seek the death penalty against that monster who should not.
Well, I mean, death penalty. So you're gonna turn him into a martyr? Just keep him and study the shit out of him. I don't know.
Everything in our power to seek the death penalty against that monster who should not have been in our country. We're praying for a recovery for them, but worst case scenario, minimum life in prison with terrorism charges.
And with that, let's bring in U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jeanine Pirro. I know it's a tough time for you, Jeanine, but can we talk right off the top about, are we going to see an escalation in charges?
Oh, there's no question. First of all, our hearts go out and our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of a beautiful 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom, who answered the call to serve her nation. And she volunteered, and she ended up being shot ambush style on the cold streets of Washington, D.C. By an individual who will now be charged with murder in the first degree. There are certainly many more charges to come, but we are upgrading the initial charges of assault to murder in the first degree. And we are hoping that the more information we can get and the more investigation that is going on 24/7 now, around the clock in Washington, the more we will find out about what actually happened in terms of this individual even being in this country and being in a position to ambush and shoot down an innocent young woman who was doing her duty to the people of this country.
Let's talk more about that, because obviously, in order to make a case in a court of law, you are going to need evidence. What can you tell us about the evidence being collected right now at the alleged killer's home in Washington state?
Well, I'm not going to get into the execution of the search warrants, but my staff was involved at the command post, and they have been there around the clock. We continue to seek warrants and to execute on those warrants, even as we speak, not just in Washington, the state of Washington, but in other areas around the country, to get everything that we need to make sure that this prosecution is as factful as we need in terms of the law and the evidence. This is a case that has touched the hearts of so many Americans, because to be gunned down on the streets on the nation's holiday is an outrage. And the individual who did this will pay the ultimate price, according to the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. As well, he should, once and if a jury returns a verdict that we will be seeking in this case.
Madam Attorney, what is your message to elected officials like Senator Dick Durbin and Senator Alyssa Slotkin that said that our National Guard was terrorizing American cities, that predicted that it would be the National Guard that would shoot innocent Americans, and many more horrific comments such as that?
Wow, that looks really bad right now. Holy shit. That comment is going to, oh my God, that comment is now going to haunt them. Okay, so the people that you predicted will be terrorizing civilians were terrorized. And yep, that is not going to look good. That's not going to look good.
You know, it outrages me. And, you know, there's a part of me that thinks that the left is disappointed that the National Guard didn't shoot someone. But the truth is that this left-wing progressive nonsense is nothing more than fueling the flame of division in this country. People should be grateful that the President of the United States has taken crime so seriously in this country that he is bringing in our law enforcement partners so that we can protect the innocent citizens. Look, I am the United States Attorney in the District of Columbia. We had the 4th highest homicide rate in the nation 2 years ago. And the president made the decision to protect the people of the district. Now homicides are down 60%, robberies are down 50%, carjackings are down 74%. And the left wants to complain about it. They should thank God that President Trump is the president, that he cares enough about the people of this country to fight the criminals and protect the innocent people.
Okay, but the criticism, and let me know if how do you guys respond to this? The criticism is that he's sending the National Guard not necessarily in the places with the highest crime rates. He's sending them in the places where in areas that is mostly leftist, So it's the correlation is the states who have the highest opposition to Trump. But I don't know if that's true, but that's what I heard the criticism is. Let me know what you guys think about that.
And let me say one more thing, and it's not about this case, it's about vetting in general. The nonsense that the left gave us with this Operation Welcome Allies. Look, there was no vetting. If you think there was vetting, I have a bridge to sell you. If you saw the chaos that was going
I mean, come on, it's the CIA. Are we not trusting the CIA now? The CIA is not like a progressive woke department. Huh? Was there no there's no vetting in the CIA?
This Operation Welcome Allies. Look, there was no vetting. If you think there was vetting, I have a bridge to sell you. If you saw the chaos that was going on at that airport in Kabul.
Yeah, somebody said trust the CIA, LOL. I really do trust the CIA, actually. From the departments in the United States, I think like the CIA is one of the most trustworthy ones. Yeah, their reports are some of the best. Yeah, I do trust the CIA more than other people, more other entities.
If you saw the chaos that was going on at that airport in Kabul, in Afghanistan, it was typical of what was going on in the Biden administration. And
yeah, but the Kabul situation happened after the CIA. Like that was the CIA has been working with this guy before the whole Kabul mess happened, before the evacuation was happened. So this guy was vetted before even the whole evacuation in Kabul was taking place. So okay, let me see. Yeah, let me see. We got a super chat saying Armin brother, the CIA and the NSA are very woke. Are they? Let me check. Okay, I'll go do some research while this is playing.
And the chaos that was going on at that airport in Kabul, in Afghanistan. It was typical of what was going on in the Biden administration. And the Pentagon, I believe it was Kirby and people in the Biden administration said the Afghan withdrawal that we all know was disastrous was a success. And that's a quote. They called that a success. That chaos is not a success. That is a nightmare. And 13 American servicemen and women were killed at that airport because the Biden administration couldn't get their facts together and couldn't make a decision regarding the rules of engagement to take down a known suicide bomber. So let's stop namby-pambing around with this, oh, he was vetted. There was no vetted. The welcome mat was thrown down. They even admitted that they short-circuited the vetting. What they did was they brought in 90,000 people into this country that were not vetted. They told us all
Okay, guys, I take that back. You guys are correct. Thank you for the super chat. Okay, so it says it would be accurate to say the CIA has flirted with woke style messaging and internal PR and diversity campaigns, identity conscious recruitment. Holy shit, what the fuck? Explicit commitment to inclusive workplace values. What the fuck? The CIA? Okay, guys, we could only trust the Mossad from now on. Okay, but then it says, but calling the CIA woke as an institution is dangerous oversimplification. On one hand, for its public image and recruitment, CIA clearly use woke style language. On the other, it is its core mission, intelligence gathering, covert operations, clandestine interference remains unchanged. I mean, if the recruitment is based on woke, then no, it doesn't remain unchanged. It will change it because your people are hired based on woke ideology. So it says, so yes, the CIA was somewhat woke in a superficial or strategic way, but I treat that as a tactical facade, not as proof that the agency underwood. Okay, guys, the CIA has fallen. Okay, I changed my mind live on air. Holy fucking shit. Okay, so let's just go. Let's go with the guys. Israel is all we got. Apparently, what the fuck has happened? All right, guys, we cannot trust the CIA anymore. So it's Mossad only. Our hopes, guys. Everybody join with me and pray to Mossad to save us, to protect us all. The Mossad and the IDF. We have no one else. You're our only hope. Okay. Amen.
The other immigrants, they even admitted that they short-circuited the vetting. What they did was they brought in 90,000 people into this country that were not vetted. They told us all the other immigrants were vetted. What do? Call the FBI in Afghanistan and say, gee, do you have anything on this guy? Did we call Venezuela and say, gee, how about your criminal justice system? What can you tell me about this guy? It's like the 10, 20 million American illegals who've been let into this country. We don't know who they are until we suffer the consequences that we have seen in Washington. And I was on that scene, and it is a very sad place. And Sarah Beckstrom and her family did not deserve this. They should have been protected, which is the first order of government. And the left ought to stop their nonsense and recognize that they are not speaking for the American people. They are speaking about ideology and politics. Donald Trump, the president, the attorney general, and myself were interested in the facts, in the prosecution, making people accountable, and rest assured, we will.
You know, Madam Attorney, you bring up the vetting process, and we're learning more about this alleged suspect that apparently got this vetting before he partnered with the U.S. in these CIA elite counterterrorism things. It's unclear that there was any vetting after he came here. And I know you can't get into specifics of the investigation, but have we learned any more about what appears to be a likely motive?
That's not something that I'm going to get into right now. That's certainly something that we are examining. It's a fluid situation, as you well know. There are a great deal of people working, as I said, around the clock, trying to put together exactly what was going on. But let me bring you back to the scene of the crime. What happened at that crime is unmistakable. It is a premeditated murder. There was an ambush with a gun toward people who didn't know it was coming. And that is the homicide, and that is the murder that we're looking at right now. You can go into all the other stuff, but as a prosecutor, my job is to prove what happened at that scene. And make no mistake, we will do that.
I think, guys, I know this could end up being wrong, but the most rational guess right now, even if it ends up being wrong, is that the motivation was Islamic. Okay, it's not 100% certain that it was Islamic, but come on, that is the most rational guess right now. Even if it turns out to be wrong, it's the safest bet right now. Do you guys agree with me? It's the motivation is Islamic, probably not with 100% certainty, but probably, right? No. Well, yes, no.
I'm glad you touched upon premeditation, because earlier in our show this morning, Emily raised a really good point. And she said the following: this is Thanksgiving week. You are a father. The alleged killer is a father of 5 people. He has a wife. They live in a tiny apartment in Washington State. You would think that leaving on a cross-country trip would set off a myriad of red flags. And so when you reference premeditation, yes, that applies to the alleged killer himself.
He had 5 kids and he left them behind like this? What a fucking scumbag. I would think that something like this, like if you have kids, even if you become a radical, sometimes you think like, I'm not going to do it for the sake of my kids. What a
reference premeditation. Yes, that applies to the alleged killer himself. But what about potentially others who may have some knowledge about the premeditated plan? Can you tell us anything about the investigation with regard to any potential others that could be, let's say, involved in a conspiracy?
I'm not going to comment on that. You know that I can't. But there will be no stone unturned in this case. We will know everything about what happened. We have pretty much every agency, every investigative agency in this country involved right now around the clock. The intent and the determination of the men and women that I was working with and I spent the night with around the clock in Washington is very clear. We will know everything we need to know. It's not time to share that. When the time comes, we will share it.
Well, we appreciate, Madam Attorney, you coming on and giving us so much of your time. Just very quickly before we let you go, have you gotten any update on the other guardsman, Andrew Wolf, now still fighting for his life?
I'm glad you brought him up. The other guardsmen, of course, we still.
You know, guys, we should actually pay attention to the other guardsmen because, you know, the lady that died, she has a beautiful smile, so it's easier to care for her. And we shouldn't forget men who also sacrifice their lives in the line of duty. So yeah, it's good that they brought him up as well. It's good to pay attention to him as well, as much. So also, by the way, Russian AR just gave us a super chat again. Thank you for all your support, man. That's really crazy how much you support this channel. He's saying the left is going to say he did this because of the strict anti-immigrant policies of Trump. You know what? You might be right. Especially if it comes out that he did this because he was going to be deported or something like that, they were like, oh my, yeah, the solution is to just bring more of them in and then also not to be strict on them at all. Yeah, exactly. So you might be onto something. And again, thank you for the super chat.
You brought him up. The other guardsman, of course, we still have hope. He's still in critical condition. We are doing everything we can to assist.
I honestly didn't even know he's in critical condition. I thought his situation is stable.
Hope he's still in critical condition. We are doing everything we can to assist his family and to make sure that they have everything they need during this difficult time for them. We are all praying for Andrew Wolf, again, a 24-year-old taken by total surprise by an individual who made the decision to take a life on Thanksgiving Eve.
Imagine if you're the family of these people thinking that it's Thanksgiving and when they're coming home and then just randomly out of nowhere, like something that you could have never guessed in 1,000 years, that all of a sudden, like, imagine the shock a family like this has to go through.
He did not have that right, and the United States government will prove that.
Madam Attorney, thank you for your continued.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. Let me some more recent updates about what happened.
Breaking overnight, the ambush-style shooting
No,
of
wait.
National Guard troops.
Wait. I have to first bring you over here before you start talking. Okay, so this is more recent updates.
Breaking overnight, the ambush-style shooting of National Guard troops in Washington, D.C. has taken another tragic turn. One of those Guard members has died, the other still fighting for his life. President Trump announcing that 20-year-old Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom died from her injuries on Thanksgiving. He called her an incredible person who was outstanding in every way. New images.
She was always smiling. In every picture, she's smiling.
From overnight of law enforcement officers lining the streets for the transfer of her body. Beckstrom's former boyfriend spoke to CNN and said she had a huge heart and would do anything for anyone. The other wounded Guard member, a 24-year-old Andrew Wolf, remains hospitalized and is in critical condition. We're also learning more about the suspect in custody, a 29-year-old Afghan national. He arrived in the United States in 2021 on a resettlement program after working with the CIA in Afghanistan helping American troops. President Trump, in the wake of the shooting, says the U.S. will, quote, permanently pause migration from all third world countries. He also says the U.S. will re-examine all green cards issued to people from what the administration calls 19 countries of concern. CNN's Betsy Klein joining us now live from Washington this morning. What is the...
By the way, Iran is on that list. Trump included Iran on that list. What do you guys think about that? Let me know.
CNN's Betsy Klein joining us now live from Washington this morning. What is the latest on this investigation?
Well, Sarah, an interagency investigation is now underway to determine exactly how this horrific tragedy could have happened, while the Trump administration, meanwhile, is ramping up its aggressive immigration policies. We know that this suspect is an Afghan national who came to the United States in 2021. He applied for asylum in 2024, and it was granted under the Trump administration in April of this year. Now, we've also learned that the suspect worked with U.S. forces, including the CIA, starting in 2011. A U.S. official tells CNN that he was vetted by intelligence agencies and clean on all checks. The question now of his pathway to violence is going to be a major target for investigators. Now, officials say it's still too soon to say what the motive is, but President Trump, as he addressed troops on Thanksgiving, offering his...
Guys, imagine if it turns out that he didn't become a radicalized Islamist and he actually became a anti-imperialist leftist. Like, imagine if that happened. Imagine if we all become Pikachu shock face. We're like, what the? Like, imagine if this guy went fully on the other side, like just became a leftist terrorist instead of an Islamic terrorist. That would be a surprise, wouldn't it?
Still too soon to say what the motive is, but President Trump, as he addressed troops on Thanksgiving, offering his own speculation. Listen.
Speculation. Okay, hold on. Give me.
He went cuckoo. I mean, he went nuts. And that happens too. It happens too often with these people. You see them. But look, this is how they come in. This is how they're standing on top of each other. And that's an airplane. There was no vetting or anything. They came in unvetted. And we have a lot of others in this country. We're going to get them out. But they go cuckoo. Something happens to them.
Now, within hours of this shooting, the president moved to justify an even more intense immigration crackdown. The director of United States Citizenship and Immigration Services announced that at the president's direction, he...
Oh, guys, how are the leftists responding to this? Has anybody watched them? What are they talking about? Let me guess. They're going to be like, I think leftist channel are going to be concerned over how, some of them are going to be conspiratorial and say like, oh, this is like on purpose or whatever. But most of them, if I had to guess, would say that, show concern that this is going to be something that gives the Trump administration ammunition to go farther with militarizing American cities with the intention of becoming a dictator. That's what I think their angle is going to be. The leftist YouTube channel, the leftist streamers' angle is going to be this. What do you guys think? That they're going to be like, oh yeah, this was a tragedy, and then move on to focusing on how this is going to be an ammunition for Trump to go full dictator mode. That's what's going to be. Yeah, I think that's their angle.
United States Citizenship and Immigration Services announced that at the president's direction, he was ordering the re-examination of all green cards issued to people from countries of concern. That includes about 19 countries, including Afghanistan, Iran, Venezuela, among many others. The president last night also calling for what he described as reverse migration. In a lengthy post to social media, he wrote, quote, "I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries and remove anyone who is not a net asset to the United States." We have, of course, asked the White House and State Department for clarity on what countries that would impact. Attorney General Pamela Bondi, meanwhile, says that the Justice Department will do everything in their power to seek the death penalty for this suspect.
All right, Betsy Klein, thank you so much for your reporting for us. And over to you, Brad.
Thank you, Sarah. Joining me now is CNN senior national security analyst Juliette Kayyem. Juliette, great to have you here with us. You know, first, as we think about the investigation, the radius is extremely wide, including the path of travel to commit the deadly act. What do we know about progress thus far and the resources that need to be mobilized for this type of scale?
Well, it's going to have sort of two nexus points. One is
Oh, right, guys, look at that map. It was so close to the White House. I knew it was close to the White House. I didn't know it was this close to the White House. Holy hell. You see the map?
in Washington. Well, it's going to have sort of two nexus points. One is going to be in Washington State, sort of his ties, who he was living with, where he was living, family, contacts. Was there a network that was supporting him? Then, of course, in D.C., how long was he there? Why did he choose this group of National Guard members? And then, of course, there's the linkage between the two. Where did he stop? Who may he have been in contact with? Was he calling anyone abroad? So it's going to be extensive in that sense. What's the good news in this tragedy is it's a knowable suspect who's had ties to the United States essentially for most of his life.
Guys, how long do we have to wait for the motivation for the investigations to give us some motivation? Like how long do this usually take? I'm like, the curiosity is killing me. Like, I really want to know how this guy who was trusted by the CIA, like what made him go cuckoo, as Trump says. Like, how long do we have to wait for this? Because I want answers now.
Who's had ties to the United States essentially for most of his life between his work with the CIA or with the United States in Afghanistan through at least 3 vetting processes to get his amnesty status, asylum status, and then, of course, whatever ties he had with family and friends where he was living.
And so, as information piles up, what does a typical breakthrough moment
Sapien Jew has a theory. Thank you for the super chat. Sapien Jew is saying maybe he didn't get what he was promised to him as a CIA collaborator, living with 5 children is in a single apartment, just maybe. Yeah, but now he has 5 children living in a single apartment without their dad. So you're like, oh my God, my situation is horrible. Let me make it worse. Okay. Like, if that's what you're upset about, now your children are in a worse situation compared to before. So you made it worse. Oh my God. If that's the motivation, if that's the reason.
Like in the effort to establish a motive.
Well, so it's interesting. I've been thinking about this a lot because he's a.
By the way, here's the reason why you shouldn't bring people from Afghanistan. Okay, because even if you trusted them from a period of time, I mean, again, not all people from Afghanistan. Okay, obviously not. Like, there are some decent, good people here, but the chances are higher that from that society that you might at some point decide, you know what the answer is? Violence, right? If you grew in a society where violence is sometimes the answer, then it's more likely for you to at some point think like, you know what I think I should do? Violence. Because you just grew up with it. It was all around you. Like, it's less of a taboo. It's less of a taboo. Right?
It's interesting. I've been thinking about this a lot because he's a suspect who we don't normally have suspects who have such ties with the United States. I mean, in other words, when we have a terror or a violent incident like this, it's someone either here who has no contact with the U.S. or with U.S. authorities, or someone who comes in from abroad. This is someone who was vetted at least by the CIA or the National Counterterrorism Center, was vetted when he came over, when Kabul fell in Afghanistan. consent. And then once again, when he's granted amnesty, look, there's a lot of politics behind this. I think we just need to step outside of that and say either the vetting process was bad, missed something key, or the radicalization process was fast, that between the time he received amnesty a couple months ago and now something happened. So investigators are going to look at some trauma in his life, something that happened in Afghanistan that he blamed the United States for.
Guys, like, how many of you, okay, do you think that if a government puts you in a small room with 5 children and they promised you something else and now this is your condition, how many of you think that's going to get you to the point that you're going to decide to go? Like, because sometimes people say, like, oh, anybody could turn into a radical in the right conditions. But I don't know if that's true, because most people don't. Like, most people from even third world countries that are not Islamic, even in the worst situations, they don't become like this. It's mostly from Islamic countries where at some point where there's a higher chance that somebody at some point is going to be like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to be a terrorist. How about that? Like, I'm angry and I know what to do in response to that. Like other people usually don't do that. Like, not as much, at least.
Something that happened in Afghanistan that he blamed the United States for.
Juliet Kayyem, thank you so much for taking the time, breaking this down this morning.
So in terms of where things stand this morning, there are some questions about specifically all these countries, right, that the president has referred to, which he calls, quote, third world countries. When we look at the re-examination process, there is also, Eugene, there is a concern.
Okay, look, guys, these are the country that Trump wants to stop all. No, these are not. Okay, because these are not all the third world countries. These are just so the countries that he wants to re-examine green cards from. Okay, so look at this. We have Afghanistan and we have Iran, but we don't have Pakistan. We have Iran and not Pakistan. Why is Pakistan not on the list, but Iran is? This does, guys, make this make sense to me. Egypt is not on the list. Iraq is not on the list. Syria is not on the list. What is this? Iran is big of a concern than Pakistan? Grape. And Iraq and Syria? Somebody says Qatar. Qatar is so small. I don't know. I don't think you would be able to tell if Qatar has been highlighted. I don't know. Right.
About focusing too much on the
country.
country.
Yeah, well, we could just look at the list, actually. No, Qatar is obviously not on the list. Yeah, they would never be on the list. Saudi Arabia is not on the list, even though the 9/11 attacks were mostly Saudis. So, yeah, this is not a good list, guys. This is not a good list. I mean, if you're including Iran, then you have to include Pakistan, Iraq, Syria, and Saudi Arabia.
Is also, Eugene, there is a concern about focusing too much on the country and what the ripple effect could.
Yeah, so let me read the list. Yeah, so thank you. Russian AR is saying read the list. So Afghanistan, Burma, Chad, Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Yemen, Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, Venezuela. Yeah.
Concern.
I think Pakistan should be second, like at the top of the list. Like, well, actually, this is alphabetical, but it should be there. Like, after Afghanistan, the main priority should be Pakistan.
About focusing too much on the country and what the what the ripple effect could be for those who are here in the country who are not a threat. How do you see this playing out?
Well, that will be a real issue that we've already seen risen by
Somebody in the chat is saying this is open Islamophobia. I wish it was Islamophobia. I mean, Islamophobia is a nonsensical term, but I wish we need more Islamophobia. If there was such a thing, we needed this to reflect what you guys call Islamophobia. It doesn't reflect what you guys call Islamophobia. I wish it did.
Who are here in the country who are not a threat. How do you see this playing out?
Well, that will be a real issue that we've already seen risen by Afghan communities and the associations that welcome and help resettle refugees. There's a real concern about keeping Americans and immigrants safe, how the Trump administration goes about doing that without harming and discriminating against those who have come here to actually be, as he would label it, an asset to the U.S. isn't yet clear. There's some concern that he may not be able to do that in a way that is fair, but he hasn't detailed his immigration plan yet in terms of how he's going to keep Americans safe.
You said Islamophilia, sorry, not Islamophobia.
But he hasn't detailed his immigration plan yet in terms of how he's going to keep Americans safe. And I assume that there will be pressure on him to clarify that.
Malik, the president, and these are the president's words here, said the suspect went cuckoo. There are questions about what may have happened in the wake of that asylum being granted earlier this year. How do you anticipate looking into what changed perhaps for the suspect, what may have changed for the suspect is going to impact this investigation into thousands, tens of thousands of others?
Well, it seems to be very clear that there was obviously a relationship that the United States had with this particular guy. And the only thing that we could think of really at this point is to say that at some point he became radicalized. So why did he become radicalized? We really don't know the answer to that question. But the fact that he particularly targeted National Guard troops here in Washington, D.C., and I believe, if I may be getting it wrong here, but I don't think that he's a resident of even the DMV area. So what was it about the National Guard? The only thing that I could see is that because of the conversation that many people have been having about the National Guard here, not just in Washington, D.C., but elsewhere around the country. I think that...
You know what? He might actually become radicalized not by Islam, but by leftists. Because it's the leftist media, like social media, that is constantly demonizing the National Guard ever since Trump is using them to bring more, safety in U.S. cities. So it's actually now that I think about it, it might be true that this guy was not an Islamic radical, but became radicalized by leftist propaganda rather than Islamic propaganda, given how sensitive the whole National Guard situation has been for leftist channels. Yeah, you think true. Yeah, you're right.
National Guard here, not just in Washington, D.C., but elsewhere around the country. I think that's the only thing that I could think of that factored into why he would come to Washington, D.C. and shoot to National Guard troops. It's the conversation that we've been having about National Guard in the areas, much like here in Washington.
Right. And again, we don't know yet. Of course, it's important to stress we do not know what the motive is behind this. So much still needs to come out in that investigation. Daniela, the president very quickly in the wake of this saying he wanted to add an additional 500 National Guard troops to the district. Of course, this is all coming amid, right? And then shortly after that, we had the emergency motion that was filed because a judge had ruled last week that the initial deployment of those troops back in August was actually illegal. As all of this...
You know what's the solution? If I was a leftist, I would be like, you know what? For the protection of the National Guards, take away the National Guard completely, put them, never use them, obviously, because if you bring them out, they're going to be in danger. And for more security, bring in more of these people and give them bigger houses so that they never get angry with us. Okay, just bring in more of them, and this time treat them better, and none of this would ever happen, especially if we never use the National Guard. In fact, how about we just give them America? How about you just pack up and leave, and if you just go somewhere else and you just give them your country, then there's nothing to be upset about. They would be very happy, so they would not shoot anybody. Okay, just give them the entire country. Okay, how about that?
the initial deployment of those troops back in August was actually illegal. As all of this comes into play, there have been security concerns raised about these National Guard members by a number of folks, former intelligence officials and former military who I spoke with, certainly in the wake of this on Wednesday night, said they were concerned that those 500 additional troops could become targets. How much is the administration addressing those concerns?
The administration, from the very beginning, Erica, has defended its decision to have these National Guard troops in the DMV area. And the whole point of it, if you remember, let's go back to what happened in August when President Donald Trump said that it was time to clean up DC. And that was the effort that he made to call these troops to Washington and, of course, try to keep them here as long as possible. We are going to see an extension of that now that he's called for 500 more troops to come to Washington, D.C. It's going to be potentially an escalation of what we've already seen, seeing these troops, a militarized D.C., as it's been the past couple of now months since they've arrived to D.C. But look, it's important to make clear that Trump, of course, defending his decision to have them here, and of course, believing that this could be a solution to have additional troops, that image of the National Guard, militarized DC to prevent further violence, but it also could initiate more violence. It's unclear what could happen going forward, Erica.
Okay. Like I said, they're like,
don't
bring security because it might make them even less safe. Apparently, that's how it works. Anyways, guys, I gotta go get ready for my webinar, and the webinar is going to be in our discussion group. Link is in the description. So don't forget to like the stream. Don't forget to follow this channel. We're gonna have another stream same time tomorrow, almost every day. All right, so I'm gonna head out. So same as usual. I'm Israel Chai, Javid Shah. See you guys tomorrow. Don't forget to like.